Don't mean we can't be friends.
It just means we got different agendas.
We gotta keep it that way. Keep it that way, oh, we gotta keep it that way. Keep it that way, oh, we gotta.
All right, so that was Andrew Vincent. That was Keep It That Way off his latest EP. So Andrew Vincent is a singer-songwriter and occasional rock and roller from Ottawa. Since 1998, he has released a handful of mostly well-received records on Ottawa's Kelp Records. So that's a great record studio label in Ottawa. He's played at Blues Fest a couple times. He's traveled across Europe, and so we are live from Van Cleek Hill today with the founders of Beau's Brewery, Tim and Steve. So thank you so much for having us here.
Hey, it's great to be here. Well, actually, we're always here.
Yeah, we have no choice.
It's great to have you guys here.
Yeah,
it's great to be here.
Yeah, great to be here. So I'm Nick Baczewski.
And I'm Andrew Miller.
And thank you so much for joining us today on Lunch Out Loud Live. So you were just telling me a good story from Andrew Vincent. So if you want to tell that,
yeah, for sure. Just kind of fun. Every once in a while, you get someone showing up at the brewery that's obviously a musician, and I'm pretty good at sniffing them out. So there's this one dude in the retail shop as I was walking by one day, and I popped my head in and I said, "Well, who are you?" And he's, "What band are you?" And he said, "Well, I'm a solo artist. I go with Andrew Vincent." And he was about to buy some beer, so instead I traded him the beer for a couple of his records, and ever since he's one of my favorite artists. I've never actually contacted him afterwards to say how much I like the albums.
Oh, really?
Well, now
we'll tell him now.
Yeah. But good work, Andrew.
Well, I did that when I was fetching him. He was pretty impressed with that. Yeah. So that's great. So yeah, the reason we're out here is because Beau's Brewery blowing up across Ontario and hopefully soon the world. and I have been at a number of events and have heard Tim speak and Steve speak. The Creative Mornings afternoon. It was not the Creative Mornings morning that one time, but it's still such a well-received talk, and we learned so much about your company, and it's just an absolute honor to be here and to be interviewing you guys and to have you as part of our city. So for a lot of the listeners, we don't know about how Beau started. A lot of us don't know, aside from the incredible beer and the awesome Oktoberfest, about how it came about. So if you want to elaborate a bit on that, that would be just excellent.
Well, it was... Now, Steve's going to exaggerate the story. I'm going to tell you that right now. So I'll tell you the truth, and Steve will add on to it.
Oh, boo with the truth.
No, I'd decided to close down a business I was running here in the facilities that we have here in Van Cleek Hill. And I was looking for something new, exciting. And at age 55, it was kind of neat to try and do a complete career change. So I came up with this idea of a microbrewery. And I'd heard it was a great growth industry, etc., blah, blah, blah. And I went to see Steve in Toronto. He was working for the Ontario government at the time. And I took him out for a beer. And over a pint of beer, I told him my idea about opening up a microbrewery. And he, a few months later, had quit his job and moved up to Van Cleek Hill. And the rest is kind of history. But Steve likes to say that, you go ahead and tell the rest of the story.
So the real way it happened was over the course of that afternoon, we talked about a number of different options that Tim was exploring, whether it was to follow the textile industry offshore, or a number of different industries he was looking at. The only one that actually interested me was making beer. I'd been a very poor home brewer, but a home brewer myself, and I'd been a big fan of craft beer since far before I was legally allowed to.
Well, that's what happens when you grow up in the country, right?
Exactly. But so Dad mentioned the idea of the craft brewery, and on the spot I said, well, if you're interested in doing that for real, I'll quit my job and sell the house and move back home to help you with this. We spent the rest of the day dreaming up this brewery. None of the other ideas had any kind of hold whatsoever once the idea of a craft brewery was out there. And so we spent the rest of the day dreaming up this brewery, and then the next day we sobered up, and it still seemed like a good idea.
You sobered up.
Oh, you were still drunk?
I never got drunk.
So you mentioned yourself, Steve, that you did make beer at home or whatnot. Tim, is that something that you used to do as well?
I was a consumer, not a connoisseur.
Okay.
Yeah.
But either way, it was something that you have dabbled in here and there before, and I'm assuming your friends must have liked somewhat the beer that you were making or whatnot to make you think it was a decent
actually,
idea at least.
the way I learned was kind of cool. In I was living in Toronto at the time, and at the time, the Canadian Amateur Brewing Association used to do one day a year at a place called Say What, where they would teach you how to homebrew. They'd have a homebrew kit on the stage where they used to have bands play, and instead of a band, it was literally a bunch of guys making homebrew, teaching you how to do
that's
it.
really cool.
And so the next day I went out, bought all the equipment, and me and my buddy Sam started brewing at home. And the first few batches were actually really good, and then we kind of got really ambitious with what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And double chocolate stouts and triple Belgian, not the way to go.
Yeah.
The
Sometimes
brown,
keeping it simple is a little easier to start.
Yeah, the brown ales were really good, and then everything else turned a little bit funky. But it was a great learning experience, and it no more than anything else, it gave me such an appreciation of beer. And I think homebrewing is one of the most interesting parts of what is actually our industry, because most breweries have at least half the people in them are former home brewers, and the other half learn from the home brewers. Actually yesterday we had a home brewer in here brewing a batch of beer with us.
Really?
And the Burnt Rock that we're drinking right now, that's actually a collaboration with an Ottawa-based guy named Patrick Boisvenu. He's a member of, there's a homebrew group in Ottawa called the Members of Parliament.
Okay.
Kind of Parliament.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
I like the play on words there.
Yeah, and last year at Oktoberfest, we got them to hold a homebrew competition at Oktoberfest.
Okay.
And the winner was Patrick, and so the grand prize was coming in and getting to take one of his recipes and make it into a full-fledged commercial beer.
What we're drinking right now is
Yeah,
delicious.
It's phenomenal.
Isn't that great?
I was saying earlier that I don't want this just to be seasonal. This is better than so many other beers that are out there.
It's a phenomenal
It's
beer.
absolutely phenomenal, and the thought of it going away is...
Yeah. Now, if you saw Patrick and his poor wife chopping up vanilla beans and scraping them out for hours on end to make this beer, you might understand why it's probably only going to happen the one time.
Well, now I want to personally go and thank him. This is...
I think he went home with blisters on his
living in Ireland for a while.
So-
This is
So in starting it off, obviously it was a bit of a combo then, your love for beer and sort of an entrepreneurial spirit, I guess. Tim, you've dabbled in a couple of other things over time, obviously owning your own business. Were you pretty much always the owner of your own business?
Well, since about mid-30s, yeah. Yeah, I've always wanted to.
The 1930s. He's that old.
No. We're talking age, or not decades. Good grief. Told you Steve exaggerates. But no, I've always had that feeling that I wanted to run my own business ever since I was actually quite young. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
You're joining four of us right here.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I'm going to throw it out there. Your label being a tractor and us being out in Van Cleek Hill, and I'm originally from the area. I'm going to assume that one of you or both of you have probably worked on farms at one point in your life. Is this a fair assumption, or
no?
You avoided it. Good for you.
No, well, I grew up in Toronto, and then I worked just north of Toronto, and then we moved the family here in 1983.
Oh, okay.
That's when I moved the family here. But Steve was only, how old were you then? About 6?
We keep arguing over this. I think I was 7.
Okay.
I think I was 7.
He's exaggerating again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so why the tractor then? Why did you decide to go with that? Did you feel it was just something that locally would do well?
It's incredible.
Yeah, it actually, we went back and forth on what we really wanted, but the one thing the tractor does stand for is like the 3 things I look at it for, as far as the tractor is concerned, is it's sort of like a retro tractor. Yeah. So it goes back to when the farms were family run, which is what we are, family run. Yeah. It also represents Eastern Ontario, the agricultural what people think of Eastern Ontario. But on top of that is also like the all natural aspect that farmers grow, and it's all natural stuff.
And that's something about Beau's Brewery and the craft beers here. So I guess going back on to the start from 2006 on.
Yeah.
Just a quick summary of 4 years, because we're coming in here today and you have the new edition and you're waiting for more. So there's huge growth here.
Yeah, it's wild. It's kind of like for us, when you look at the rings of a tree, we can sit there and point out. So this was, where we were at in 2006, and then we bought this in 2000. It's almost like you can see the brewery physically expanding over the time. When we first started off here, we took up a teeny tiny space with our little brew house, and we had 6 fermenters, and then we warehoused out the rest of it. So where we're sitting now, we used to warehouse boats during the winter. We had it was about 2 million mason jars in the back room over there.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then little by little, when we needed more space, we stopped warehousing that part to somebody else and took that space over, and then added these fermenters here. And then the first 5 years was all sort of incremental growth that you didn't necessarily see one big thing all at once. It was 2 more fermenters today, and then 6 months later another couple fermenters, and then a small 2-head bottling machine, and then finally a 4-head small piece of crap bottling machine that I hate.
You bought it.
I know. And then it was last fall that the first of sort of much bigger investments
Fall
came in.
2012.
Yeah, fall of 2011.
Okay.
We got the new bottling line in,
Yeah.
and that changed things pretty dramatically for us. So it's still a very modest bottling line for a commercial brewery, but it's not a tinker toy. So we're able to put, when it's running well, 30 bottles a minute go through the machine. And
So approximately how many a day are you pumping out then?
we're doing
About
about
10,000 bottles a day right now.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
10,000 bottles a day. It's
Plus
still
our kegs.
still very human driven. We don't have a lot of automation to it.
Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah.
So there's like 17 people that work on the packaging crew, putting the beer in the bottles. But the machine that we did before, we could get, if we ran 24 hours a day, we could get, I think, was it 2,000 bottles?
About
out?
2,000 bottles a day, but
And that was running 24 hours a day. So with this thing,
but if you remember back just a little bit further than that, we had these beer guns, and we would each stand there, each filling one bottle at a time.
Oh yeah,
And sometimes 24 hours a day.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so I'm assuming employee-wise as well, you've been kind of growing a little bit further as well. I'm assuming at the beginning there was just a couple of you now.
Five employees to start with.
Yeah.
Today we're 70 employees?
we're a little
Wow.
bit under 70. Yeah.
Just under 70.
A lot of friends.
See, I'm not exaggerating.
That's great.
I guess I did.
In case Ministry of Labor's listening.
and a lot of friends and family, right?
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Then
we've got a very much a friends and family culture here. The joke is that we've made nepotism a company value, and the other joke is that we've hired all my unemployable friends.
Hey, that's good. You got to do something.
From going to the big city,
Yeah.
and staying close by.
Yeah, but the cool thing about that too is that obviously we've hit a point where there's not always a friend that fits the right role that we're hiring into. But I think we've done a really good job of the people that we hire, and that's the first time we've met them, bringing them into the culture so that they're now just as close friends as people that were friends.
And that's a huge thing that you
Right.
always speak of, and that's a huge thing that I believe in, is the workplace culture. So Richard Branson is one of my mentors, just loving his business philosophy and everything like that, as well as Google and as well as Shopify with what
Harley,
they're
yeah.
doing with Harley and everything
Yeah.
that they're doing here. And
Yeah, that's a great.
and
company,
just
by
coming
the
in
way.
today,
Yeah.
you're having massage, and then we were told that everybody here is now coming in. They get a massage. Some of it's paid for by the company, and some's not. But that's good. That people are bottling every single day. If you can have on-site perks, make it.
Well, that's one thing I mentioned too, and I know that's taking business through school and business philosophies have kind of changed over time, and happy employees are good employees, right? Regardless, and that's great that obviously everybody loves working here.
Yeah.
So I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, we got one of those ping pong table and the table hockey, and I got my ass whipped yesterday.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin says it was 11-2, but it was really 10-2. So, but
You got to work on strategy.
that one I have to
those
work
things.
on.
But I
Ping
beat
pong,
Kevin 5-2.
Yeah,
So
ping pong, I'm pretty good at though.
All right, so we'll be back with Tim and Steve just after a quick break. We're going to listen to another song from A.Vincent. This one's called Diane, so this is a little shorter, but we'll be right back. So see you in a moment.
Here I am, I'm watching TV again. Oh, 10th day in a row. And I'm seeing things, well, I can hardly believe. Some say it's the end of rock and roll. They say, kid, hey, things are always changing. And you can't stop technology. Well, if things are always changing, please start explaining why it seems like the same shit to me. I still see you.
All right, so we're back here now with Tim and Steve and
Andrew.
And
Nick. Anyway, one thing I wanted to talk about, obviously craft breweries and microbreweries, whether those names are synonymous or not, I'm not too sure actually, but they've seemed to be popping up a lot more over the last decade or so. And from what I gather in some research that I've done, obviously back, before the Industrial Revolution, that's all there was. There was hundreds of craft breweries all across North America. And then once mass manufacturing became popular, these larger companies that could do things for cheaper and make more of it, they've started taking over, and then all the smaller companies sort of dropped off. Now we're seeing a big incline now back into that cycle. Do you think that people's taste buds are now evolving or waking up finally, or do you think that there's something else that's driving this that are now allowing all these microbreweries like yourself to be so successful?
I think there's a number of different things that are all happening all at the same time. The big part of what happened was where we saw almost the death of craft beer was actually Prohibition. When that came in North America, before Prohibition in the United States, there were thousands of breweries. And after Prohibition, there was a few hundred. And then every year, the ones that were left just kept eating up all the other ones. Mm-hmm. And then what was happening at the same time was as more and more breweries got eaten up, there was less and less diversity of beer. And, if you look at, even something like a Molson's 150 years ago, they probably were making, the same kind of beer as any other craft brewery, because at the time they would have fit the same kind of mold. Mm-hmm. For cost savings purposes, a lot of the bigger breweries stopped using all malt to make their beer and started using cheaper substitutions like corn syrup or rice extract. And the more consolidation there was, the easier it was to do that and kind of force that on the public. And it got to kind of a dire point in North America where there was literally only a handful of breweries left, and then you had a couple true pioneers out there, both on the U.S. side and in the Canada side, that most of the time it was someone that had been to Europe and tried real full flavored beer, come back and said, what, this has got to work here.
Absolutely.
And as a few of those opened up and took a hold of the market, things started changing very slowly to start with. But about 6 to 10 years ago, I think you had that critical mass to it. Yeah. So people started trying it. There was also movements for eating locally. There's also movements towards community involvement, and sort of the thrill of discovery, I think, finally caught hold. Mm-hmm. And we've seen such a huge change. Last year was the first year since Prohibition. There's now more breweries in the United States today than there were during Prohibition. Oh, wow. And that's the first time that's happened. And most of this growth is spurred by very small breweries. You look at Ottawa alone. When we first started off making beer, it was a really lonely place.
Yes.
There was this myth you couldn't sell craft beer in Ontario at the time, or not Ontario, but Ottawa in particular. And we've proven, I think, that Ottawa's got to be one of the best places to sell craft beer.
Yep. If you take a look at just recently in the last 2 years, the number of new microbreweries that are popping up, and we're encouraging that as well.
And that's
Well,
that's
absolutely,
phenomenal.
yeah.
That's
It's
another
it's
thing.
not so much competition as it is paving the way and helping each other out,
Yeah.
so to speak, right?
No.
I mean,
It's
why
so
not
much
buy it all
more fun,
locally?
right?
Well, that's
It's
just
so much more fun.
So
I guess that leads us into our next thing, the events.
Being local and
Yeah.
giving back to the community, like you said, you guys do throw a lot of great events, and I know that there are some coming up. Do you want to maybe dabble in one or two of those that are coming up?
Well, I just want to bring up Oktoberfest.
Okay, let's talk about Oktoberfest.
Yeah,
Oktoberfest is amazing, and
You told me about that, and I heard
Yeah.
through the grapevine leading up to this year that this is the must-go-to event of the fall.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, come on, it's 45 minutes out. Like, come on, I like just being in Ottawa. No, a bus.
Fantastic.
this.
Free buses from Ottawa to get down
And then
there.
I went out
It's-
there, and what an incredible time. You had non-stop entertainment. So many other ones, and I just want to go back for those food again. But you have a lifelong customer in us already, and you have and many others. That was
Yeah, so
and the variety of beers that were presented.
that's the other thing.
So it's been going on for a couple of years now. Am I wrong? I know I've been there the last 2 years anyway. But how long have you been doing Oktoberfest, and how successful has it been getting? I know that even just the difference between the 2 years that I've went, there was a significant amount of more people this year than compared to last year.
Yeah.
So when did it start?
The first year we really got caught off guard. That was 4 years ago, right?
Are you including our lawn party?
No, I'm not going to include the lawn party. There was kind of a precursor year
Yeah.
where
Okay.
we had a little shindig on the front lawn here.
Actually, 200 people showed up, though.
Yeah.
That's a good shindig.
But the first time that we did it at the fairgrounds and tried to make it a big event, our goal was to hit around 750, like somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people. We would have considered it a tremendous success. And by the time 5,000 people had made it through the gates, we realized that we probably should have shut it down a bit earlier.
like Woodstock, eh?
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Well, we hadn't prepared for that many people, so therefore, we didn't have a restriction to how many people could get in, and eventually we just had to
shut the gate.
shut the gate.
And every single restaurant ran out of food. So we put in calls to every single restaurant within 60 kilometers and just said, just keep sending
Pizza.
keep sending
as
pizza.
much pizza as you can make.
And we had to ration it out at the tables because people were trying to stockpile pizzas. I'll buy 4 of them and then I'll resell the pizza. It was like a gas shortage or something.
So then now, obviously, this year was a huge success. I have to assume.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, as soon as we realized the potential for the event, we were able to grow it in a very orderly way. So we now make sure we've got enough food, we've got enough beer, we've got enough service so that the lineups don't get out of hand. Mm-hmm. And we also know that we've got this budget we can play with because there's that many people coming, so we can get some really cool bands. We try to make sure that we keep it independent, and we like to have a very strong Canadian focus to the entertainment as well.
And that's excellent. And what about upcoming? I know there's Star Street, another great event that you're...
Yeah, right in Ottawa too, so no people have to take a bus. So
in the month of February, we've decided to change it to Brewery.
Yeah, nice.
We're going to be releasing 7 different beers in the 4 weeks of February, which is a little bit ridiculous. And the highlight of the whole month is going to be the Winter Brewed Festival on Spark Street. Yeah. This is something we're partnering with JP and the National Capital Craft Beer Week folks. There's going to be 2 blocks of Spark Street taken up by this. It's going to be an outdoor festival. And the one block is going to be just a full-on festival with a whole pile of different breweries, all sampling, their winter beers, and it should be a lot of fun, especially because it's outdoors.
Yeah.
Good way to stay warm out there.
Exactly. And then the other block, we've taken over entirely. And so it's going to be all of our different February brews available, including a couple new Gruits, which are unhopped beers. They're made with bog myrtle instead of hops.
Okay.
Our winter brew beer, which is a collaboration with Bridgehead, where it's the strongest coffee beer you will ever have.
I can't wait for that.
I think we should sample some of that after.
We have some.
We have some.
We
here.
happen to have
perfect.
some today.
It'll wake you up.
And the whole block we're going to set up. We're working with the Carleton Engineer students, and the local sculpting group in Ottawa to create like a snow lounge. We're hoping to have it so you can build your own snow person while you're out there.
This is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
You can sit down and have a beer through an ice bar, and it should be pretty cool.
Well, this would be great. It'll be during the Winterlude weeks too, as well, right?
It's an official part of Winterlude.
That's fantastic.
And the actual dates of it are the 16th and 17th of February.
Okay, well, just one last thing I wanted to mention. Obviously, this is clearly a dream job for you both. I know that this world, I find it's filled with lots of people with big ideas, and only a handful of people actually act on these ideas. What would you guys say to somebody out there? What's some advice for somebody that has a dream but they're unsure whether or not they should follow through with their dream?
Well, for me, if they're unsure, you kind of know if you're sure or you're not.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has dreams, and like you say, only a certain percentage will act on it. It's because they're just, I think, built that way, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're just going to go ahead and do it. And but I'm going to tell you, for those that sort of are hesitant and are sitting on the fence, go for it, because it's a lot of fun.
That's
Good.
Yeah. Well, the thing to my mind is when we started off Beau's, it felt like we were moving mountains every day. Like there would literally be in any given week at least 1 or 2 nights where I did not sleep. I worked around the clock, worked through the next day, and then by about 8 o'clock the next day, I'd crawl through the front door and literally collapse.
Yeah.
The amount of work required is...
I'd call it building, not work.
Is ridiculous.
Building.
It was also, tremendously fun, and I'm still having more fun than I've ever had in any job I've ever had before. And there's no way any other job could ever compete with this.
That's fantastic.
Financially, I probably would have been more lucrative to continue what I was doing. I had a great job. That might change over time, who knows, but who cares? It's the amount of fun it is, and the feeling that you're actually able to change the world to be a better place.
Yeah. That's what you guys are doing.
Is pretty phenomenal. The ability to go out and change just the entire landscape just by what we're doing is so humbling, and at the same time so rewarding.
And check them out at
You need
Winter
another beer
Brew.
there.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week we're going to be on at an earlier time, 10 a.m. next week. We have the mayor on, so we're going to the mayor's office. So we'll bring him some
Get your
votes as
questions
well.
ready for
good
Jim
stuff.
Watson, guys.
So lead up after your great question there, Andrew. We're going to go with Canadian Dream by A.Vincent. I'm sorry about not having events this week, but I'll put them on the Facebook page and our website as well. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
1, 2, 3, 4. I got your postcard from my west. In big block letters, you rose the freaking best. Because you hardly have to get up before noon. And your landlord don't care if you smoke up in your room. I got your phone call from out east. You said the school sucks, but not the parties. And there must be 100 bands playing every night. And you're gonna start on Wednesday at the open mic. And you are living the Canadian dream. And you are living the Canadian dream. I got your letter from overseas. You said it's taken a while, but you found yourself finally. And you've seen so many people and things, so much that Montreal